Last time on Cyberfile, we achieved vengeance for the poor women of Tristan against Karstjaw, and explored the upper levels of the Pitchwoods, finally learning about that ethereal weave of fire and sky. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of From the Depths, Cyberfile's lore-enhanced playthrough of Salt and Sanctuary. So, I lied a little bit in the last episode, and not on purpose. I said that we were going to head the opposite direction of the Pitchwoods. Well, I decided that instead it would be best to do some backtracking and knock out a couple of optional areas that I skipped because I really wanted to cover the whole Keepers of Fire and Sky thing first. So right now we're in Cran's Pass, which is that hidden area just to the right of the Red Hall of Cages, and we now have all the brands necessary to get exactly where we need to get to. What I want to do is I want to finish out the Bloodbrow storyline for you. And one of the main reasons the Bloodbrows defected from the Keepers of Fire and Sky is because they wanted to keep the old gods. So if you remember the old pantheon, see, the Keepers of Fire and Sky, they don't believe in the old gods. Instead, they believe in just the elemental spirit of fire and sky and the ethereal weave. No gods are a part of it, right? So, similar to the Stone Roots Creed, it's all about that elemental feel. Well, the Bloodbrows wanted to keep the old gods in their practice. So, as I've said before, the Bloodbrows were sent out to cull beasts, and I want to talk about one man in particular. His name was Carmen Cran. And Cran was a Bloodbrow division leader from Livin. And in the nodes hidden in the Tree of Skill, which you can read from the Drowned Tome, or I'm also going to be uploading a video on it shortly in the future, tells a story about Carmen Cran's, a specific hunt of Carmen Cran's, specifically one where he went to the Foaling Knoll and went to hunt these abominations that are part plant, part infant stillborn creature known as Gnarlens. So Carmen and 5 others in his group went out to hunt these things, and the plan was to set up a camp on a nearby area called Cliffendale Crag, which looks not too dissimilar from where we are now. The plan was to set up camp, then wait for nightfall as the Gnarlens hunt at night. And they were going to take out the Gnarlens just as they began hunting. Gnarlens hunt solo, so it would be fine, and they would take care of this abomination no problem. Well, unfortunately for this Red Brow division, they ended up going out on their hunt just a little bit too early, and the Gnarlens were just waking up, you see, because they sleep in the trees during the days. And they ended up getting the drop on Cran and his group. Now, Cran was able to show off some of his excellent fighting skills, but ultimately the rest of his team ended up dying, and he had to escape. So Cran ran through the forest until he found a small village, and there was a hut in this village that he quick ran into, and he was able to seek shelter there for a bit. However, they fed him mead, or fed? Would you say fed for something that you drank? Anyway, they gave him mead that was spiked with a sleeping agent, and Cran passed out. When Cran finally came to, he found himself in this grand hall where he saw the corpses of his friends, and they were being eaten by these villagers, so this disgusting display of cannibalism. So Cran had no weapons, no armor, he was bound, and he was pretty much next on the menu. He was dessert. However, what Cran decided to do was to pray to the old gods. Most specifically, he prayed to Devara, the goddess of light, and Diadel, the goddess of sky. And Diadel answered his prayers, and actually enabled Cran to pull from the weave of fire and sky, and he was able to burn the entire village to the ground, kill everyone with this incredible flame ability, and the weapons that he was able to recover that were taken from him. And he killed everything in this village except for 6 infants, hoping that they could break this sort of cannibalism curse. Now, Cran would never again be able to pull from the weave of fire and sky, and after the events of the Foaling Knoll horror, he ended up defecting from the Bloodbrows. Whether this happened before the Tristini witch hunts that ultimately caused the downfall of the Bloodbrows, or it happened after, is kind of unknown. Now, what's interesting, though, is that, do you remember way back to the Mire of Stench, the lady who gave us the Redshift brand? She said that there must be an old Bloodbrow somewhere on the island. And in fact, Cran is that old person on the island. So, Cran is the one who's placed all these Redshift barriers. And that's how we know. After Cran finally defected from the Bloodbrows after the Foley Knoll horror, he ended up wandering around the world for a while as a Ronin. So just a vagrant who would do odd jobs. And eventually he found his way to the Castle of Storms, where his excellent combat prowess was able to serve a bit for Jarret, the King of Storms. Now, of course, Cran ended up defecting from the King of Storms as well, probably after he saw all the greed that the King of Storms had. And in the night he tried to escape, but was caught by one of Jarret's armor guardians, those big-ass guys. And in a fight, he ended up snapping his prized sword in half. This gained him the nickname of Broken Cran. Eventually, Cran met his end somehow, after wandering more around the island, and now, he's wandered around the island, and now he's brought with him his memories of Criffindale Crag, here, as Cran's Pass. And now he must fight Ronin Cran, one of my favorite characters in the game. So, Cran is one of my favorite fights. He's just a really neat battle. I'm a big fan of his moveset and the whole charge thing that he has going on here. He reminds me a lot of Astorius from Dark Souls. I just like the whole, broken swordsman character that Cran has going on here. And I love Cran's story. He's one of my favorite characters in the whole game, for sure. And that is the end of the Bloodbrows and of Carmen Cran, Ronin Cran, Broken Cran. So I know this episode was very story heavy, and I kind of had to tell you all of that information before the battle, because I wouldn't have been able to focus on the battle at all if I tried to explain all of that. Because he can be pretty tough if you're not paying attention. And now we've actually popped out the other side to the ruined temple. So if you remember, I said that we could use the dart brand earlier to dash over to the ruined temple. Well, this is the side that we would have ended up on. And this is an early way to get to the hidden temple. It's because you can get here as soon as you can make it through Cran's Pass. So. Ow. Very ow. Holy shit. Not prepared for that. Not gonna let that happen again. Yeah, you fall down there, jerk. There we go, we'll get some slam action on him. And this will give us another little item that we can grab. And actually just puts us out on the other side of the ruined temple. And with that area opened up, we're going to visit another optional area with some very interesting lore, just like Cran. So here we are back in the Dome of the Forgotten. The easiest way to get to this optional, very hidden area is from the dome. First I'm going to do a little bit of leveling up though. Alrighty, and now we're going to head just to the left of the dome, so where we originally entered it. I love this background, by the way, this starry night sky. It's gorgeous. You can see some shooting stars in the background. I love it. So right here you can see some hard light clouds that we can access, and we can't really make the jump if we don't have the dart brand or use another exploit. And that will lead us up into the sky. I love that jump. So neat. And up here, aside from a couple cool items we can grab, it'll also lead us up here into Mal's floating castle. Mal's Floating Castle is a very interesting location. It's optional, completely. And the only way out is to make sure you have a guide. So there are many guides in and around Mal's Floating Castle, so don't waste them somehow. So make sure you have a guide if you want to get in and out, or at least have some calling horns on you. I always recommend that you carry at least one calling horn on you at all times. I usually carry anywhere from 5 to 10, just to be safe. But here we are in Mal's Floating Castle. And we will soon meet with Mal, but first we have to make it through her castle. And here we have, by my mistake, on one of the other episodes, I referred to this big guy as an Armor Guardian. We all know that Armor Guardians are the guys in the Castle of Storms. These guys are called Crypt Keepers. And again, very tough enemy, a very rewarding enemy as far as drops go. They have some of the best upgrade equipment, upgrade materials in the game. And they're also very susceptible to poison, so keep that in mind if you're running a poison build. Now, Mal's Floating Castle has a ton of treasure chests, and I don't think any of them are real. They're all those Mimkus. Now, Mimkus, which I don't think I've mentioned in the past, are actually Kraken. If you remember, I said that Kraken have the ability to shapeshift, and so that's just one of the ways that Kraken do that. And they actually try to take the form of treasure chests in an effort to get some more food from hapless adventurers who just want some treasure. My dexterity is almost at 50, which is at the soft cap. I think I'm sitting on 48 right now, which means that I'll get diminished returns if I put any more points into dexterity after that. But what that means is that we're pretty damn powerful. As you see, I'm killing most lesser enemies with 1 or 2 hits, so we're getting pretty damn strong, which is good. And then up here you can flip around and fight yet another Mimkus. And that will double us back around to here, which is a hidden doorway. Ooh, I fell. I always fall in that hidden doorway, every time. Let me double back around. So another thing that I really wanted to touch on was gods. And what I mean by that is that in the world of Salt and Sanctuary, remember, all living things are born of salt. Now, except gods. As I mentioned before, gods have something called a candlelit soul, and they have this, so they're not born of salt at all, which is interesting. So just keep that in mind. I have more to say about that, but not until we make it to a certain point, until after we clear the next boss. So the next boss is incredibly interesting. And this is the only real treasure chest. Or no, there's one more real treasure chest up in Mal's Floating Castle. But that's all we're going to touch on for today's episode of From the Depths. So thank you for watching. I hope to see you on the very next episode where we tackle this very interesting boss and learn about her, or its, very interesting abilities and a very interesting theory that could change how you view the entire world of Salt and Sanctuary. I hope to see you then. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more Cyberphile content. And if you like this video, show me with that little thumbs up button. If you liked this video, you might like one of my other videos. You can click right on the boxes to jump to them. Cyberphile, offline.